Hello everyone, welcome to a very special episode of Dom Sketchcast. I am Dom. I've been your host for the past year of this podcast, and I'll continue to be your host in the future, wherever this thing goes, wherever this thing evolves. I will always be here, even when I am not physically here. This thing will preserve my atoms. That's the most important thing, right? I'm walking through a very special neighborhood right now. I don't know what neighborhood this is. I don't know where I am. I'm in some kind of strange location, some kind of strange place. But the lighting is very good. The lighting is very good here. It was a year ago I had the idea to turn my ideas and thoughts and animations and interviews into a podcast format that I'll put on iTunes and Spotify and YouTube and do things a little more in a more formulaic way than I usually do. And it's been a wild ride. It's been a very interesting ride. I've had highs, lows, and mediums. I've connected with you all in a way that I was never able to before. I've connected with myself as well. I have a couple things to say to you all in this episode that are important, but I urge you to stick with me to the end because it's going to be very special. Something is very special coming until the end at this show. I have a couple things to say about this season of the show before it ends, because this is the season finale. This is it. This incarnation of the show will be over once this video is done. However, I do not want you all to leave until this video is finished, until the audio is finished. I want you to stick around because we have something very special for you planned at the end that I made with some incredible artists and incredible people that I have been working on for a while, and I think is going to usher us nicely into the next season, the next phase of DSC. So what I really want to say to you all first is thank you all for listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here this past year. I'm going to go down the list. First, the Blue Cerberus crew. Thank you all for helping me, being there to, just help this thing, just the scaffolding that create this thing, to keep my head on straight, because it's very often difficult for me to tell other people my ideas and work with a team. This is something that's very new to me, and that's one of the many gifts that this podcast has brought to me, is the ability to work with a group of really extraordinary artists and producers and editors. Downhill Media, thank you all as well. I want to thank everyone I interviewed, every person who performed or lent their music and their ideas and their art to the show, people who contributed questions. All of you are fantastic. The ideas that are inside your brains are fantastic as well. I think we have a very special community, and it's going to continue to be very special. The people we work with, everything's going to continue to grow into the next phase. These colors behind me are fucking amazing. I feel like Scorsese right now. I feel like P.T. Anderson right now. Just to tightly recap why I'm ending this season, it's because I want to. That's the short answer. I'm not interested in approaching things in a formulaic way. I'm not really interested in doing things the way I think other people approach stuff. I want to treat this podcast and things that I do that have my name on it, I want to approach things that in a way that makes sense to me and to the best of my ability. When it's something, once again, that I am at the helm of and is mine, I want to treat it like a canvas, and I want to treat things like drawings and animations the same way I would a painting. And I don't see why a podcast can't be like a painting sometimes. And the thing about when you're writing or drawing or creating anything is sometimes you just gotta like step back from it and look at it, and you just sort of nod, or maybe you don't nod, you just shake your head. But then what you do is just, you put the thing away, right? You step away from it, Sometimes for a couple of months, sometimes a couple of minutes, maybe a year, maybe it takes a decade. I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen here, but I really like the idea of taking a break from all of this, stepping back from the format that I've been working at, and reassessing some of it at a point that's good for me. I really need a break from this thing. I think a year is a good amount of time to have put into this canvas and this thing, and I'm very happy with what I've done. There is a part of me that's always feeling like, you gotta keep going, man, you gotta keep doing the shit, we're not done yet, there's more. But that's also sometimes to my detriment, because that will mean that I'll continue doing something and not really stopping long enough to learn a lesson or move on to something else that might be more interesting or worth my time to explore. 50 episodes is pretty good, it's pretty big. It's pretty outstanding, and that's something I have to keep telling myself through this phase. Ending this thing. Ending things is not easy, but I'm doing it. And once again, this is season 1 that we're ending. I want to tell you all that when this thing comes back, and I think it will, I want to come back to it with a lot more resources. I want to come back to it with some fresh eyes and the knowledge of what I did, and I want to come back to it with the intention of making it something that is very similar but a lot larger in scope, probably tighter, and yeah, with just more firepower. Maybe something that has a tighter scope, something that is maybe meant to end from the beginning. I like the idea of seasons in general. I have 2 extra messages for you all before we get into our very special presentation, our very, very special presentation. First special message I have to say to you all is that the patrons deserve a huge, huge thank you from me. Thank you, patrons, for being there. People who signed up on patreon.com/valet all this time. As DSC changes, the rewards that you get on the site will change. Not by much. It's still gonna be the really cool quality stuff that you expect from me, the weird extra vlogs. As I shift through phases, you all are gonna know what's happening. And right now, patrons also have access to a separate thing where I talk a lot more in depth, a couple other goodies and extra vlogs and behind the scenes things about this animation that you're about to watch and the creation of this whole thing in a very meta sense. So that's happening right now. Thank you, patrons, who you see on your screen right now. You guys are awesome. The next thing I have to say is a message. You know, it's a message to you if you're creative, and I know a lot of you are. I want to remind you all, and continue to remind you all, to keep making things, and to also finish what you start. That's a really good piece of advice that I got one time, and it's something that I keep thinking about in the future, and I hope I'm going to continue to keep thinking about it, is to just keep going and to finish what you start, because finishing is probably one of the most important parts of the creative process, but something that doesn't get a lot of attention. I don't have much else to say about. You know what? I just don't have anything else to say about this thing.
Are you going to miss all of this? Doing it every week?
No. I don't think that the whole thing is finished, just this incarnation of it. This is a season. It's gonna be reincarnated at some point. Next year.
Reincarnated? What if presidents were just reincarnations? Like, you get the concept of succession because you always need a new president or king or whatever, but what if the president was just one body? that would serve as a vessel for the consciousness of the next person.
Well, then it wouldn't be a democratic process. They wouldn't be elected.
That's not interesting, though.
What would you want to be reincarnated as?
Me?
Yeah.
An idea. A conversation. A word. A caption. Oh, or maybe I could come back as a prompt. Like, press X to skip through this bizarre attempt at ending season 1 of this podcast. Except you see my face as the prompt. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean?
Not really.
What about you, Memory Red?
Reincarnation has never sat well with me, mostly because it feels incomplete somehow. I want to be in the last part of the cycle. I want to know that there's nothing left once I'm finished.
What about reverse reincarnation?
Reverse?
Oh my god, you mean like if you were to age backwards through iterations of yourself and perceive time like Merlin the Wizard?
Not quite. More like...
Or more like Benjamin Button, but with Lakeith Stanfield playing both the role of Brad Pitt and Kate Blanchett?
There was that Benjamin Button episode you did, right?
Oh, yeah. Benjamin Button, I remember that. It was definitely early on, like episode 14 or something.
It was episode 2. That was a good one. Do you remember how you used to do those meditations too at the beginning of the podcast?
Yeah, I miss those sometimes. But I feel like it was all just too weird, and maybe I was like alienating some people.
I think you abandoned the idea too early. You should bring it back.
Except this time it'll be 2 eyes, or 3, or half an eye, or literally zoom in on your physical eye and leave it there for a minute.
It wouldn't be difficult to create. I could see to that.
We're not doing that. I mean, not now, maybe later.
No eyes. Purest darkness, darker than my sister's eyes, darker than...
What if you just make the podcast shorter?
It could work, but we'd still need the break to think about how to make it better. Shorter doesn't necessarily mean easier.
I used to be the host of this Pain Forest podcast called Ghost Sleepers. It took place in people's dreams, and we had to stop because people wouldn't wake up anymore, and I got trapped in someone's subconscious mind and sort of became them for a while, and then I forgot who I was, but...
That sounds pretty cool, actually. Is there anywhere I can listen to it?
It sounds more like an experience than a podcast.
We don't want to talk about that anymore. We're sorry.
You okay?
We have to go now. Bye.
You kept your promise.
Yeah, I did.
It's a good thing you've created here. A powerful thing. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
To have completed something is not an easy task, and you did it. You've done it in the past, and you will continue to do it.
I'll try.
Look closely in that mirror.
It's a Pain Forest mirror.
What do you see?
I see...
Say it.
I can see them. Both of them.
Speak to them.